All right, here we go.
Hey guys,
Non-alcohol.
welcome to episode 160 of CMD Towers Brews and Builds. I'm MrComboNumber5 and I'm joined by my fellow host, whom this deck name could also apply to his love life, which doesn't really work now that I heard this story, BigTuck.
Chaos Incarnate. It absolutely does. How's it going? I am drinking this delicious strawberry bubbly because somebody, after winning man of the match after his rugby game, took it upon himself to get real drunk. And I was a real slosh kebab out with the boys, but enough about that. What I'm really interested is, how was your brunch and Black Adam date? Where's your I'm really keen on that, and then I want to talk a little bit about Vegas, and then I'm gonna be ready to go into this new kind of like this. I feel also this is like kind of a good start for our fourth season, right? I was in the
Yeah,
car, I was driving with someone where it's like we try to do things a little differently, so this might be like the good like pushing into the new season, episode 160 and all that, right?
sure. Yeah, no, so I'm here for it. So the brunch was great. It was me, the Goad, the Godfather, and Colby, who is the boyfriend of one of
He's
her bridesmaids.
he's the other guy that looks like me and Eric, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And so brunch was great. Louis wine dive, bottomless mimosas. So they do
Ooh.
this new thing, and I actually think it's kind of cool. They call it almost bottomless mimosas. So if you just want a single mimosa, it's $7. To do
That's kind of a
this,
lot, right?
not I mean now not nowadays.
I
That's
got
just
yeah.
normal. And then the almost never ending, it starts at $14. But what they do is every time you want a refill, you pay $1. And then you get a whole nother mimosa. So effectively,
Oh,
it's like as long as you plan on having two mimosas, you might as well do the almost never ending because it's only
right.
$1 more. But then you have the freedom to do it as much as you want.
Yeah.
But then if you're like
I'm.
me and you're gonna have 8 mimosas, it works out way better because I
That's how
end up.
much you had.
I mean, yeah, 6 to 8 somewhere in there.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
well, I mean, at bottomless, they always like water it or champagne it down or juice it down or whatever. So it's not super
Yeah, yeah.
strong. But yeah, I mean, I think it was like $18, $19 for me to have all these mimosas.
So, so let me ask you this on the breakfast thing. You said that we are going to go to one of those unlimited brunch deals in Lost Wages, right? There's
Well,
one that you want to
so
go to.
not a single person replied to me when I sent it out to our group chat, but there is a dinner buffet I want us to go to. I don't think you'll actually be able to go, or you might be able to.
On
I know
Saturday is what you're thinking.
I think well, it's not a me thinking, it's when could we get a
Oh, it's
reservation?
just that's when it's available.
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But this is the number one in my opinion, and I think I got rated this a few times. The number one buffet in Vegas. You end up paying like $80 or whatever it is, but it's like unlimited lobster, unlimited crab, like top end steaks, sushi. This place, Tuck, is intimidating. I've done it once. I did it when I was at the Consumer Electronics Show back in 2014, and it left that good of an impression on me. Like there was
Wow.
nothing there that you're like, meh. It's all like, oh my god, that's fire.
Yeah, I'm in. And then if you want to do something on Friday before, because the doors don't open till like 1 on Friday, right?
I think they open in the morning, right?
No, Friday 1 to 7.
Oh, well, I mean, honestly, that works out better considering I'm not going to be going to bed until like 2. But
Yeah,
yes,
right.
we could do something beforehand.
Think about that. But anyways, enough about that. Brunch was good.
So
How was
brunch
the
was
movie?
good. The movie, all the non-spoilers I read they were 100% accurate. Entertaining movie. You don't really feel the you don't feel the desperation to like beat the bad guy. That
Hmm.
like really they shouldn't have even had the villain that they did. You could have just like been fine without it. So that was definitely there. I do not like Black Adam's direction at the end of the movie. Like he's still kind of an anti-hero, but he's really just a hero at this point. Like
Yeah,
he's there
yeah,
to
yeah.
do good for his
They
country.
they stand off the corner. They stand off the corners a lot.
Yeah. So I didn't
Yeah.
like that. The mid-credit scene was cool. It's kind of been spoiled already on who it was. I guarantee you've seen it. You haven't seen the scene, but you've seen who is in
I
this
think I know
movie.
it's It's a her, right?
Nope.
Really?
Yep. No.
Huh. All right. No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, so then that works out good for you. We'll say the all-star was Dr. Fate.
Yeah, I heard
Pierce
Pierce Brosnan
Brosnan,
is knocks it out of the
fantastic.
park. Really?
Oh, he's so good. And I will say from a nerd perspective, I like the change to Cyclone. So Cyclone, and this is a female. In the comics and in the cartoon, it's always like an android that
Yeah. Okay. It's like
effectively,
the red cyclone, right? It's like the
yes,
red robot. Okay.
yeah, and like
I
basically
always thought that was lame.
his waist down just like rotates real quick and
Yeah.
it creates like a tornado. Hers, it's more of like a spinning and like so that they
Okay.
do try to make it a little more beautiful. It almost imagines someone doing ballerina dancing with like the
Yeah.
ribbons and stuff. So
Right.
I
Right.
really like that.
Pirouettes.
Yeah, it made total sense for them to do that. So yeah, no, it was a decent movie. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 with a recommend. If you really want to see it in theaters, go see it in theaters. But definitely, just when it comes out on HBO Max, it's worth
It
2
will come out.
hours.
That's where all these DC stuffs are going to be coming out, right?
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Maybe maybe it'll be on the airplane.
Oh, probably not because the movie just came out in theaters.
I don't know how these things work, but I know it's exciting. It sounds way better than Halloween Kills, which was terrible.
Yeah, that did sound awful.
But I'm gonna write. I think I'm gonna write. I'm gonna write that article about it. I just have to have the time. I think I'm gonna try to do that. Oh, there we go. Even more maximized productivity. I'll do that at the pool. I'll bring a laptop and I'll do it at the pool while I'm relaxing before going to the show that night. Slam dunk.
Slam dunk. Well, everyone, Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Oh wait, you wanted to talk about Vegas. What'd you want to talk about with Vegas?
That was it.
Oh. All right, so Brews and Builds is our
Lost
deck
wages.
tech series. Since we conquered our path to 32, the 12 themes of EDH decks, season 3, and I guess now we're technically in season 4. Or wait, are we? Or are we in 3?
We are in 4. We are in our 4th season, aka our 4th year of doing this, which is insane.
That is insane. And what we are actually doing is we're going to take a precon deck and enter it into the CMC game. And this will comprise of taking that said precon deck, both of us picking one favorite card of each CMC to discuss, and then like a traditional Brews and Builds episode, we will cut 3 cards, but then we do have to add a CMC that's less than the card cut, a card with equal CMC to the one cut, and then we got to do one with bigger CMC. So without further ado, let's get brewing. Today, to BigTuck's solid recommendation, we are actually talking the Chaos Incarnate Starter Commander deck. Thought this would be a great way for people that are trying to get into Commander, maybe are just learning about the format. Hey, you can go buy this precon for $20 or $200, whatever the secondary market says that it has to cost. And then, you can kind of get a little bit of a deck tech, but we're not going to go through every single card because you don't need to know about every card. But also give you a solid foundation to cut cards out and put cards in so you can really, really take it to that next level. So before we get going further, Tuck, who is the legend that is the face commander for this precon?
Yes, so obviously everyone knows I'm a big RAKDOS boy. Mr. Combo used to be a RAKDOS boy because I remember he still have that shirt that says like what I like pain or something, right?
No, it says I think it just says safe word.
Oh yeah, that's right, with the RAKDOS symbol, right? So I thought this one, and looking through these decks, I do think they all are very basic. I think they're not joking when they say they're starter builds, but the RAKDOS one at least has a really interesting commander in my opinion, and that is Kardur Doomscourge, who was originally printed as an uncommon in Kaldheim, now being printed at Mythic Rare in this, which is like the first time I could think of something shifting up like that, right?
Yeah.
So 2 colorless and black and a red for a 4/3 legendary creature, Demon Berserker. When it enters the battlefield until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat able and attack a player other than you if able, so effectively goad. And then whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So looking through the deck, I really kind of struggled. I'm not gonna lie, like you had made mention, Mr. Combo on our last episode afterwards, he made mention that he's like, I don't really know. Maybe I'm just like good at picking up decks when I look at them. But I was looking through this and I'm kind of confused. So I'm kind of confused myself. Like,
yeah,
what do you think? Just as a pick up and play.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher. I'll say that. So I think what confuses us is when we read the commander and it's like, okay, it's a starter deck. So it's trying to be simple,
Right.
which is usually live in the red zone. Okay, perfect. This
Check.
commander does
Right.
that. But usually in a starter deck, it's like very on the face what the theme is. And reading the commander, it's like, okay, it's all about attacking and it's about making sure my opponents are attacking each other as much as possible and not me.
Right.
But a bulk of the deck is like instant and sorceries.
Right.
And
Which makes no sense.
and it also doesn't make sense because it's not like Disrupt Decorum, one of the most famous goad cards out
Right.
there. It's weird. I don't know. It almost seems like Tuck. They were just like, okay, here's the commander. Rakdos, good stuff. What do we need to put in? And that's just what they did.
There's some really weird choice. I mean, like, I think if we look at this deck in like a grain, hops, yeast, spice, I think the grains are probably okay-ish.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's like a couple of reprints in here that are nice to have. The yeast is probably solid, or sorry, the hops I think are probably there too. And then like the yeast and the spice are like interchangeable almost, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's where it really starts to fall apart. So, like you're saying, I think the total card value in this deck right now is $53 ish, right? Depending on where you're looking and that sort of thing. So you're buying these for, if you can get these on sales for $18 is kind of what people are saying, right? 18, 20 bucks. From the value perspective, what are your opinions on the value that you get out of this, the deck that you get out of this comparative to the other precons and other things that are out there?
See, I struggle when people talk about value in the precons. And the biggest reason is because like we'll look at this list, be like $53. It probably makes sense even if you're a secondary market person to pick up the deck. If it's only, $15 to $20. The challenge with that is we just sometimes forget that Commander is a singleton format and it is 100
Right.
cards. That just because the thing's worth $53, there might be a handful of cards that are worth more than $2. And then it's just because you have the sheer quantity of dime, 15-cent, 20-cent type cards, and those are not value. So I personally, like looking at this deck list, I would only pick it up if I'm not trying to heavily invest into the game, because I don't know if I want to play it yet, or B, you really are trying to build a Rakdos deck yourself, and you just want like a lot of the staple cards that are good in Rakdos. Like, I would definitely almost like take Chaos Incarnate away, call this like starter Rakdos, like a Rakdos starter kit. That is what this deck truly is.
Yep, I completely agree there, and I think these are like, I feel like this is a good product for people who it's like it's too expensive of a game to get in, right?
Yep.
Because I think like if you take this and add in $10 and cut the land base down from 40, which is insane, then I think you'll have something that you can at least like go playing somewhat casual pods, right? You probably can't, you're not going to be able to keep up with like the Warhammer level precons, but things outside of that, I think it's got some interesting build choices there.
So here's a crazy thing though, Tuck. To your point, I don't think you can cut the land base down. The current current CMC of the deck is 4. Yeah. In collective, you may or may not know this, they do not count lands as a part of your CMC value. Because the crazy thing is that the deck's a 2/3/8 with lands. Like, that is scary.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some tuning need to go on there as well. For the rest of the stuff on here, 1 Planeswalker, 23 creatures, 14 sorceries, 8 instants, 13 artifacts, 4 enchantments, and 40 lands, as made mention there. So pretty normal for Rakdos, I guess. Anything else about the deck that jumped out at you?
No, I think I think we're good. Let's definitely get into this guy. And of course, we have to announce what's on the game show today. Today we got CMC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9.
No zeros, no 10s and aboves.
999.
999.
That is a redacted bit if ever there has been one. When was the last time we pulled that one out of the shoe?
Oh, I just did that today on a conference call. Just kidding.
I was like, wait, what?
Well, before we get into this deck, we would love for you guys to check out our amazing, amazing patron community, patreon.com/CMD Tower. Anything you guys could do would really go a long way with us. Um, Pledges start at $3 and kind of go up from there. And we are doing a special thing to where if you do sign up as a member of the collective, like now through Thanksgiving, we're giving a 20% coupon that you can use in our great store that you can hear about later. So
Ooh.
we do have tiers that actually give physical rewards, but literally the entry level one gives you opportunities to be on the channel and interact with us. So definitely, if you can, we would appreciate it. Patreon.com/CMD Tower. So
Hell yeah.
let's get into the deck. Tuck, I'll have you start. One drop. Not a lot of options.
Not a lot of options. And I went with the non-ramp varietal,
Interesting.
which you did not choose.
No.
Okay. So I do think I do like this card in most decks, and here it's kind of okay because there's not a way to recur it that I can find. But Nihil Spellbound, I think, is kind of like a low end tier of managing graveyards. So 1 mana for an artifact that's a common by the looks of it. It has 2 abilities: tap, sack, exile all cards from target player's graveyard, and then when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay a black if you do draw cards. So for me, you got to have it. You got to have some form of this in here, right? Whether it be on a land, whether it be on an artifact like this that kind of cantrips itself. I wish that this deck had some way to reoccur this, because maybe they could have put it on a creature or an instant sorcery if that's how they wanted to go. But for 1 mana, get rid of a troublesome graveyard, draw a card, kind of vanilla slap fastball down the middle for the sort of effect.
Yeah, honestly, this would have been one of the ones I would have cut later, purely because of it's 1 CMC. So I could do our restriction of you have to do a greater CMC ad. It's like, well, it's
sure,
1.
yeah.
Everything's bigger than that.
Yeah, easy.
But I did think it had a home primarily for it's kind of like a pay a mana and then got to do a black later to get a card draw. So it's like, okay, get rid of your graveyard, and I'm really cracking this because I just need to draw a card. So
yep,
it's fine, but nothing to really get excited about.
Nope.
All right. Well, mine is not Soul Ring, but
okay.
we'll talk about Wayfarer's Bauble. So
Wayfarer's
Bauble's not it's all right. Single colorless. It's an artifact. 2 tap, sacrifice the Bauble. Search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Once again, just like the Spell Bomb, I think this 1 CMC card is purely here for you can play it on turn 1. Technically, you don't ramp, but as long as you hit your land on turn 2, you kind of get a little bit of acceleration on that turn. Late game feels real bad because it doesn't really do much other than thin your deck. It's fine.
I just like this card that this card's now been reprinted so many times, because this used to be like $5 for no reason, because it only had like 1 or 2 printings, but now they're like shoving it in precons and everywhere, so you can get it for 30 cents. I'm a big fan of this card. I like it, and especially the things that don't really ramp like here. So good that it's in here. Like I said, the green package I think is pretty solid all in.
All right. Well, we're gonna leave CMC 1 and we're gonna go to CMC 2. And the first one I want to talk about is I would say it's a staple in mono black decks. Yeah, what's the one permanent that black really struggles to get rid of?
Enchantments.
Yep. And this card in Feed the Swarm is just so
excellent.
good.
Yeah.
So good. I wish it was instant speed though.
Yeah.
Colorless black sorcery, destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. So it does the typical black thing where you got to pay life to be able to do the really, really good effect. It's a sorcery speed, so that kind of sucks. But Tuck, wouldn't you agree that Feed the Swarm, like, unless you're also running green or white in your color identity, if you have black in there, you should probably have this card, right?
I think, I mean, it's hard to say, like, even with red, where you're like, there's some new things that are more generous with targeting. I think this card's insane. Like, life loss doesn't really matter, because like I'm trying, like, even high end enchantments are what, 5 maybe.
Well, I mean, the ceiling would be omniscience at 8.
Sure, yeah, fair point. which is one that you would definitely want to target with this, right? To your point. But I feel like most troublesome stuff in these colors are going to be 3, 4, 5. So the life lapse on that is like minimal at least. But yeah, I think this card's. I don't. Yeah,
Like, I
I
don't
can't
know
think of
why
a
you
reason why you
wouldn't.
wouldn't run. I think it's a I think it's a staple, right? Like I would.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we talked about Scour from Existence being kind of like an all-star and these kind of decks, right?
Mhm.
I think this one is just an immediate replace. Like
Yeah.
almost every single time for
Yeah.
5 mana less. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Solid.
Hands down.
Solid across the board.
All right. Well, what was your CMC2?
I thought I wanted to put this in here because I always thought this card was kind of stinky, but I think I've seen it on a lot of game nights and played a lot more recently to do a lot of good stuff. So I actually want to talk about a braid. And this is a weird card in here because it's kind of like it kind of leans into a little bit of the spell slinger like third sub theme, I guess, in it. But I think this card's really interesting. And I don't know. Colorless and a red for an instant. Choose one. It deals 3 damage to target creature, or you can destroy a target artifact. I feel like a lot of faster commanders are usually like maybe 2, 3 power. And this sort of lightning bolt can kind of snap those. You can slow down an elf tribal lord, maybe some sort of thing. So I just like the duality of it. If it was one or the other, I don't think it would be, I don't think it's that great. I really wish it said 3 damage target creature or planeswalker. But on the face of it, for 20 cents in a budget deck in these super beginning ones, I think this shows a lot of versatility for just like a bulk common.
Yeah, actually, I want to say some other creator did an analysis on that. And I want
Oh,
to
really?
say 50, it's like 52 or 55% of legendary creatures actually are toughness 3 or less. So a braid actually
Wow.
does kill more times than not, your
Yeah.
opponent's commanders. So yeah, I think that's a great point. I like a braid. Mainly, I like the instant speed. I like the
Yeah.
destroy target artifact. And then for me, the 3 damage target creature is more of like a if I need it.
Mm-hmm.
But just an instant speed destroy artifact with maybe an option. It's a good
Yeah.
card.
Yeah. Solid.
But
All
also
for 30
still has
cents.
nothing to do with this deck, but it's a good
No,
card.
no.
All right, Tuck. Well, we're going over to CMC3 and man, what do you got?
We got some
There's
options.
there's some good ones in here.
I almost went with Spoopy, the Spoopy one, but I've talked about that card enough, and I'm starting to lose my heart on for it. So I want to talk about a card that usually should be a 3-for-1, in an instant slot. Again, spells. It's just spell slinger, right?
Yeah.
It's so weird. But I thought Soul Shatter is a really
Yeah,
cool
you
inclusion in
do.
here. Wait, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I let enough in on that.
Nope, nope.
Uh, all right, I will take this one. So 2 colorless and a black for an instant. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the highest converted mana cost among creatures and planeswalkers they control. And it's for about $1. So I just love that. I feel like this card out of anyone we've talked about is the one that plays the most into the commander, right? Because you
Yep.
wait till someone goes to their attackers, then you play this, then you drain the table for 3, gain 3, and they all lose their biggest creature on the board.
Yeah, I agree.
Was that
Well,
the
and I
way to
mean,
play it?
well, it is, but you got to wait because you want to do it now that we all know that there is that cleanup stage in combat. You would actually
Oh,
do it then, let them get the damage in. Then it's like, oh, okay, hey,
because
thank
they
you for
still
hitting them with your Kozilek. Soul Shatter.
yeah, they still count as attacking, right?
Yep.
Like through combat. Okay, cool. Yeah. So is that the way that this deck is actually supposed to be played? It's just like it's a mid-range Rakdos control deck that just forces your other opponents into attacking.
I think it's that, and it's also a Rakdos Thievery deck. I think you're because
Yeah,
red does a really good job of borrowing creatures until end of turn and giving them haste. So I
for
think
sure.
like the more that you play into that as well is really good. I mean, if they wanted to just make this spell slinger and it was just all control spells, I mean, I guess that's a kind of a unique way to do Rakdos because you wouldn't really think of
Right.
that. But they didn't really go all in one way or the other. So, but I think Soul Shatter, regardless,
Hmm.
is a really good card for this Go deck.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
All
Play
right.
more.
Well,
Play it more.
before we head over to the next CMC, we would love for you guys to check out our Etsy store at etsy.com and just type in CMD Tower into the search bar. You'll see our sweaters on there. You'll see our awesome tokens. Just really anything you guys could do would be great. Our foil playmats are still available on there. More sleeves than we know what to do with. So if you're looking for some different Magic accessories, or just looking for a way to support the channel, but get something in return other than just our not so pretty voices, just remember
Mm.
Etsy.com and CMD Tower in the search bar. So we're going to go to 4-drop. I will do this with, let's see, what's the best way? So it's nice because I think this is one of those ways, once again, it's just kind of RAKDOS generic, but it's the way that RAKDOS can really stop the blue card draw players, or at least make them think about it. And let's just say this card or enchantment would probably love to be in a Nekuzar deck.
Uh, I did not choose this one, but I can confirm because I played it yesterday in my Nekuzar deck.
We're talking Spiteful Visions.
Yes.
2 colorless, hybrid Rakdos enchantment. It's a rare. You get it for about $3. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Whenever a player draws a card, Spiteful Visions deals 1 damage to that player. So I see this as a great way. We would definitely classify this as like a hops card because, we're going to be taking damage anyways. So I don't think the damage that we're going to be taking is that big of a deal because we're probably at most drawing 2 cards a turn versus
Right.
there's so many blue players and so many green players. Heck, white's even kind of getting on it, and so is red, to where they'll, okay, let me burst draw 10 and, cast them till end of turn or something like that. And it's just, Spiteful Visions will make those players say, I don't know if I can take 10 because I've been goaded for the last 6 turns and I keep getting hit by other people. I don't know if I can take another 10.
I think out of all the cards we've talked about, this is the one that if I was a beginning Magic player again, like going back to it, this is like a cool card, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got that kind of feel to it where it's like this is like really altering how the game is played. So to me, I think this is like the coolest inclusion that we've had in here. And as like a new player, this might be something that like will drive you to like I want to play Nekuzar, I want to play more control and those sort of things. So great pick. It was mine, but I changed mine at the last minute because I panicked. So there you
go. One thing I just noticed, I'm looking at this deck list. I'm wondering if compared to the other decks, if it's the same. Mana value 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 all have basically the same number of cards in them, give or take 1 or 2, like on the numbers.
Oh.
I wonder if they do that as like, hey, we're going to put together this starter deck or precon deck. We want to make sure that we have even numbers of try to be close to 10 as possible on CMCs 2 through 6.
Yeah.
Since that's kind of like the bulk that you play, and maybe that's how they try to keep the CMC down. I was thinking about that because I was like, how's the CMC 4? And it's like, oh, it's because they have a ton of 6 and
10
5-drops.
Yeah.
So,
and then when you go down and look at the chart too, you can just see it's just like,
Yep.
oh, it's almost flat. Yeah, maybe. They want you to
All
play.
right.
They want to teach these people how to play Battle Cruiser, and then they just go to their LGS, gets destroyed by Ognis on turn 2.
Oh man. All right. Well, what is your CMC 4?
I'm gonna go. I think you got me real good with this card once, if I remember correctly. I think it was in your geared deck, maybe, and you just went bananas with this. So this one is a great way to strike back at another opponent that's starting to get a little bit bigger of a board of you with Hate Mirage. So 3 colorless and a red for a sorcery. Choose up to 2 target creatures you don't control. For each of those creatures, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. I wish in this deck it was sacrifice as opposed to exile, because then you could get the commander trigger as well. But what are you gonna do? So 2 giant creatures. I feel like this is like a good way to bounce back if there's been like a one-sided board wipe, or if your commander's been killed a couple times and you need a turn to kind of reset, or if you're down to 1 or 2 players and you just want to wipe them out. This is a great way to do it. I think it's efficiently costed. I think this card's really cool. Like, I think this is another one, just like Spiteful Visions. That's like a really fun build around idea to start putting that in people's minds when they first would pick up this deck to play.
Yeah, for sure. I see, and this is kind of what I was, when you were asking what I think the direction of the deck could be. I think more cards like Hate Mirage would feel more like this deck.
Right.
Because if I could be creating token copies or just straight stealing my opponent's creatures, I don't care if they die in combat because they're probably getting exiled at the end step anyways, or going back to their control. And then I think by doing that and cutting out a lot of these non-goad or copy spells, that gives you the room to put in, you know, the different altars for your sack outlets. And then
Sure.
now
Yeah.
you're actually sacrificing these things and getting the triggers. Like,
Right.
I think
And,
there
and
is
getting
a
the
really,
value.
yeah, there is a really cool shell here to be able to go in with. And cards like Hate Mirage just kind of show you a little bit of what that future could be.
Definitely.
All right. Mana value 5. What do you got?
This is a card that this is the wild one because it's a
Okay.
card that you hate, and it's a great inclusion in this deck, kind of, when you don't have the goat out. And the goat also loves this card as well.
Oh God. Is this also a CCO nation like staple?
Yeah! The Tate Brusher. Brash Tawner, baby. 4 colorless and a red for a creature goblin that's a 1/1 indestructible. Whenever it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent, and then 2 colorless and a red, tap it, it fights another target creature. What's not to like? It's your favorite card ever printed. One person in my play group went as far to say that this is like a red standard. I was like, all right, let's all take a deep breath. That's insanity.
So here's the thing, though. This card doesn't make sense for this deck.
It only
You're
does.
You're goading your opponents,
right?
Which means they can't attack you.
It only makes sense for this. It only makes sense for the second one. It only makes sense for the second ability to fight another big guy to start blasting people in the face. That's it. But it's like, come on, you're not gonna be able to go to. Especially you brought up the point in this current build right now. You are gonna go maybe 2-3 times in the game at most.
God. Yeah, for sure. Like a card that needed to be here, and I don't know how expensive it is, so it's probably why it's not in the precon. Like, why didn't they put Conjurer's Closet in here? Like that just makes so much sense.
It doesn't make it look sense why it's not in here.
All right. Well, mine is a card that I thought would allow for really cool and cute combat tricks. And Dictate of the Twin Gods. So,
yeah.
And I wanted to talk about it for the specific effect that it has. So, 3 colorless red enchantment. If a source would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. But that's not why I wanted to talk about it. It's the flash aspect. I think this card having flash gives it that extra level of like, okay, I did the goad thing. People are making deals like, hey, okay,
yeah,
I'll swing out at you. I won't block your stuff, but you gotta, with your card draw, get this thing. And it's like, okay, cool. No blocks. Flash this in.
Bam!
You just killed the person that you made the deal with.
Yes. Love it. This is the same. We were talking last time. You know how there's Grade Pact for Dictate of Erebos?
Yep.
There's one that's Furnace of Wrath that is the exact same cost as Grade Pact. 1 colorless, triple red, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one is, for some reason, there's something about this that I like better. Like Grade Pact and Dictate of Erebos, I feel like are closer, whereas I feel like this is just better than the other one. And I don't know why I have that like mental block about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's still kind of like the whole Grave Pact thing where it's only like one more, like you made the good point. It's like one more mana, get flash. And it's like, man, that is a really good point. Like, I would be willing to do that and then be able to shock and awe people.
There you go.
Granted, I will say you'll have less feel bads with Twin Gods than you do with Dictate of Erebos. Everyone gets pissed when you have to sacrifice all your creatures.
Could you imagine if they reprinted Dictate? We were just talking about how they're never going to reprint Dictate of Erebos because it's too good. Could you imagine if they printed it into this deck?
Oh my god,
insane!
It'd be so good.
It'd be amazing.
Then it'd be worth to probably just pick it up.
Yeah, just be like, all right, I'm paying $6 extra for a Dictate. Let's go.
All right. Well, now we're going to move over to mana value 6. And I'll start this off with one of our only landfall creatures in the deck.
Oh.
And I do think it's still good, though, because of that effect. But I think tweaking the mana base to get more of the fetch lands, more of your artifacts that go grab lands, allow you to play it a couple times, that's really where this is going to really shine. So I think that Geode Rager is just so good in here. So
I think it's the best card in the deck.
Yeah, it could. I mean, you might say this is like the yeast card. Like, get this out and go.
Yeah.
So Geode Rager is 4 colorless, red. It's a creature elemental that has first strike, and it does state landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, goad each creature target player controls, and it is a 4/3. So definitely no slouch. It can, go out and deal some punches. And I mean, the literal floor is just as you're playing the game and playing your land per turn, you only goad one person.
Right.
But the ceiling is like, oh, and
I'm gonna crack
terramorphic
this myriad
expanse.
landscape. Yeah.
Yeah, myriad landscape, terramorphic expanse. You know, you're getting 2 triggers off of it because if you can't blink your commander every single one of your turns, you at least got to make one player attack the others. You can't have everyone coming at
Yeah.
you because I will tell you, as someone who plays a goad-ish type deck, when the whole table's coming after you, it's very difficult to stay ahead.
What do you mean goad-ish kind of deck? The name of the deck is isn't it like KT Goad Super Friends or something like that?
Well, goad me another one. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But people have pointed out that I actually don't have that many goad cards in there. I do have some goad, but a lot of it is just like, you can't attack me or you can't block my stuff, and curses that I put on people for rewards if you attack them. So.
Ah, sure.
Nothing you want to say on the Geode?
No, it's great. I think it's the best card. I think it's the best card of the deck. Like, I'm kind of surprised. So back when we did our set reviews, and we both wanted to hold our head under the faucet for 6 hours every other week, I think I at least predicted this is gonna be like a $10 card, right? Which is shocking because it's like, I think it's still only been printed once. So I just think it's amazing. Like, and any deck like this that you care about it, you got to play this. I'm sorry, it's been printed. It just got reprinted another precon. So
yeah, well,
never mind. This card's
with this one, it'll be reprinted 3 times, and then you get one for 30 cents. So
yeah, so not a problem there.
It's okay. Bolts of Citadel was my whiff. This one was your whiff. All right. Well, what's your 6-drop?
Gotta have it. Coveted Jewel all day. If you're going to attacks anyways, what's it matter? 6 mana for a artifact that's 72 cents. When it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, tap, add 3 mana of any one color. Whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attack you in art block, that player draws 3 cards and gain control of Coveted Jewel, untap it. So in my opinion, this is like a win-win even with the goad, right? Because A, you just get to keep it, and the mana after the turn after you play for it, it pays for itself. Or if someone does finally get it, now you can start politicking and start getting someone to take it from them. It's effective. Like, this card to me is like the Monarch. Like, this is like a 6-drop Monarch card, right? Except the ceiling's even higher because it's all about mana, all about drawing cards. Sure, does it cost 6 mana? And have I gone through systematically and cut Gilded Lotus out of every single deck I own? Yes. But in a starter kit like this, I think this is a card that, like, would be really fun to draw and play and remember, like, oh yeah, the first time I ever played a card that had this like sort of goofy effect that impacted the board. Maybe I'll bring them back for more. You know what I mean?
So I don't like this card. It's good in this deck though, because you're forcing everyone to attack anyways. Sure. So what I actually like about the card though in this build, Tuck, is I think you could politic with this card from the aspect of, hey guys, I know I'm goading you and I'm forcing you to attack each other. But hey, now you actually get something for doing it. Like, now you get to draw 3 cards. I'm giving you 3 mana. Like, look, it's not all stick. There is a carrot or here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, by the way, before I forget this, talking about making deals. I was making deals left, right, and center yesterday at our budget build. Someone built a $50 Scarecrow tribal deck. I know it's something that you were working on for forever. And it held the table like hostage for, I would say, at least half the game.
Oh, wow. I'm shocked that they were able to do it for $50.
It's all gates now. the land base.
Stupid gates. All right. That's going to wrap up 6 drops. Before we head over to the next CMC, we would love for you guys to go to abyssproxyshop.com. Be sure to use code CMD Tower. We've all seen the cost of Magic cards are getting insanely expensive.
Yep.
And, maybe you do want a mana crypt for each of your decks, or, even on a smaller scale, a Disrupt Decorum. I think that card's $20 or $25.
Is it?
I think so. I think it's pricey. So, sometimes you want that, but you just can't afford to have a copy for each of your decks. Well, abyssproxyshop.com, it's like $3 to $5. You get a very, very nice high quality proxy. And if you guys are watching live, or you will not be able to listen to this, and we won't be in Vegas, but if you're watching live, be sure to hunt down BigTuck, myself, or ST Sharpie.
Oh, right.
We're going to be wearing CMD Tower shirts the whole weekend. We do have cards that if you sit down and play a game with us, you actually get a playtest card. that from Abyss Proxy Shops. You can see the quality. It's a nice command tower that we've rebranded as CMD Tower, and it even has our QR code with our link tree on it. So if you're looking for some of that stuff, use code CMD Tower. It gets you 10% off. Plus, it does help benefit the channel a little bit. Now we're gonna head over to.
And
Oh,
last
go
thing on
ahead.
Disrupt Decorum. Good thing we also didn't try to buy this out because it's currently 52 cents.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
Is that insane?
I swear, I thought that card was like in the 20s.
I did too. Like it was because I think it was only printed.
It was
in
only
that
printed in
stupid...
that Edgar Markov deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal. God, I hate that deck. It like never goes away. It's just like every single time there's a new set. It's like, oh, here's 7 new cards for Edgar Markov. Ugh.
Well, we're over at CMC 7. There's only 2 options. Are you talking about the one that we cut from every deck?
Yeah, we're not talking about that one, right?
All right, then you and I are talking about the same one.
Yes. Okay, let's do it.
3, 2, 1. Karavek
the Merciless. An actual good card in here.
Yeah,
Great top end card.
5 colorless Rakdos legendary creature human shaman for 32 cents.
Yes, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, it deals damage equal to that spell's converted mana cost to any target. Oof. I wish that there was some way to cheat. There's like no graveyard recursion in this deck, except for Sepulchral Primordial, but that card sucks.
Well, there is Profane Command.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, so, but to your point, it's once again, like, it's almost like they asked a newbie, like, hey, what themes do you want in this deck? And they're like, I don't know. How about Goad? And how about some recursion? And ooh, I like Spellslinger stuff. And yeah, let's get pingers in here. And it was just like, oh my god, there's like 11 different themes. Can we get it narrowed down a little bit?
They had like a focus group of a bunch of kids, and like they just like said, yeah, we'll take it all, like everything that you want. It's all coming to the deck.
But yeah,
but this one actually is good.
Yeah, it is. The only issue I have with it is just 7 mana. It's so expensive. Yeah.
It's got no evasion. It's got no protection. You're going to play this, and then someone's just going to, like, I don't know. What we got in here?
Murder.
Yeah, there you go. Done.
And then they're only taking 3 damage. And it's like, cool. Yeah. I'm good.
You got it.
All right. Well, let's go to mana value 8, Tuck. There's only one there, and there's only one mana value 9. So why don't you read off the 8 one?
Okay. Magmatic Force, 5 colorless, triple red for a 7/7 creature elemental for 48 cents. At the beginning of each upkeep, Magnetic Force deals 3 damage to any target. This card's terrible unless you're playing limited. Pass turn.
I actually like it. I like it in this deck. Yeah, I do like it in this deck. Because there are cards in here. Now, granted, I may be cutting some of them, but there are cards in here where it's like your opponents had to have lost life for you to get something.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so this automatically helps unlock those handful of cards. I also like that it is, because of how damn expensive it is, that it is each upkeep. So, unless they have a counter spell or the immediate snap removal, and let's be honest, we would rather someone waste their murder on this than our Karavek. We would rather have Karavek.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
This is bait, and it is any target. So, planeswalkers, creatures, flyers, birds of paradise, your face. It gives a lot of flexibility. I do hate that it's 8 mana and we're in Rakdos, and it's very difficult to ramp. But I do feel like this, at least for 8 mana, is going to impact the board.
That's true, and in these decks, people are probably going to run out of removal by the end of the game. So these like late game haymakers are just going to come in and do work. So I like that. I also lost this to I think you and I lost this card when we played our 2-headed giant Battle Bond draft booster.
Oh, maybe.
I'm pretty sure I lost that in that Battle Bond, but I like this card. I hear where you're at on it though, but this one's not for me.
Gotcha. Well, I'll take the mana value 9. It's an all-star Blasphemous Act. It's never actually 9 mana. So Blasphemous Act is 8 colorless red sorcery. It deals 13 damage to each creature, but it does cost 1 colorless less for each creature on the battlefield. So, and Commander, that's insanely easy to have this thing cost. The ceiling, honestly, I've never seen someone pay more than 4 for it.
Oh.
I mean, have you ever seen someone pay like 8? Or 6. I think 4 is the most I've seen.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm struggling to think of a time when someone just didn't pay 1.
Oh, really?
Right? Like I have to think. It's like,
yeah, because like I've seen the 4 just because of 4. Like the Go Fluffy decks. They aren't swarming the board. but that
Yeah,
13
yeah, yeah,
damage will
yeah.
take out all the 4/4s and 5/5s.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen. I can't think of a time where it was over where someone paid more than one off the hand, but I I mean either way, this is probably this is what the strong one of the stronger reprints in the top 5 in the deck, right?
Yeah, and it's still only $2.
Yeah, which is great because there's this also was 5 at some point too. This
Yeah.
isn't funny where it's like we've talked about how like certain cards like boogeymen cards were terrifying back in the day, right? And then like they kind of lost their luster a little bit or they're like scary. This card was printed, the first printing of this card was in freaking Invasion in 2011. So for 11 years we've been talking about this freaking card, right? And it's still relevant and it's still
Yep.
good.
Well, I mean, I honestly, Tuck, I don't think this will ever not be relevant, mainly because it's 13 damage. We've seen
Yeah.
where they don't print creatures with above 13 toughness. They really
No.
don't.
It's so
And
it's
and
so
it's
efficient.
shocking when they do though. Like it's like, oh my
Yeah.
god! Like there's that crab I think that got printed
Oh,
last year. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's like a 17 toughness or something like that,
Right,
or
right, right,
15.
right. The legendary crab.
But yeah, I mean,
Sexually.
until Commander or until Wizards prints cards or designs cards that are going to push it past that, like now all of a sudden 15 is like the norm or 20 is the norm. I don't
Yeah.
see a reason why this wouldn't stay relevant for the entirety of the game.
And that one is Cherix, the Raging Isle.
There you
Remember
go.
that for your wedding? The sexy crab, sexy like
Oh
a
my
crab.
god.
And
Jesus. All right.
it's a
Well,
017. So this would in fact not die too. This would in fact not die to Blasphemous Act.
well, that's going to wrap up the CMC in the actual deck. Before we get to our bottle capping, we would love for you guys to check out our amazing Twitch for our live stream. So we do post a schedule on Sundays in the morning. Usually try to have it up by 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and it gives you the schedule for the entire week. If you guys see the Twitch logo on the schedule, that means we're live that day. If you don't see it, that means it's probably a recording that's coming out, and you can catch it on YouTube. But the more popular thing is every other Monday. The next one coming up will be on Halloween. Is Slinging Cardboard Rectangles, where BigTuck is our host and always has a slew of creators and different people from the community that come on and jam some games. BigTuck, are you guys doing any type of spooky theme for next Monday?
I don't want to spoil anything because I'm still figuring it out, but we are hoping that it's going to be involving spooky stuff.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, let's get into this bottle capping. We're going to start with the lesser CMC and BigTuck. What are you going to go with to cut for the lower CMC? And then
Okay.
what card are you going to put in to help maybe bring that mana down from a 4 to something a little bit more manageable?
This is going to be the fastest one, period. Like we've already talked about most of it. I'm cutting Magmatic Force. Like I said, I think it's too expensive for what it does. You're not going to be able to ramp it out that fast in this deck, in my opinion. So pretty easy. No quick way to reanimate it either. That's not really a package in here. So I am cutting that. And I think I found out, I think I didn't want to say anything, but you kind of stole my thunder a little bit about Condor's Closet, because to me, that's immediate slam dunk. No questions asked to put in here. But you are correct. It's $8 now, or $6 to $8 now, which is a ton for one of these precons. But
Yep.
Condor's Closet, 5 colorless for an artifact at the beginning of your end step. You may exile a target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Just so much value in this deck. If you were running tutors, this would be something I'd go and tutor for almost immediately. Getting it out right around when you get your commander means that you're going to be taking control of a lot of different combats. Probably going to end up winning the game for you as well. So, like I said, pretty straightforward. Not a whole ton to talk about on my end.
No, and honestly, I mean, I don't know. Do you feel, because it does do the entire table when the commander ETBs?
Yeah.
Do you think once you get Conjurer's Closet out there and you have your commander, are you borderline unbeatable? I mean, literally, they have to do artifact destruction, creature destruction, or just kill all the opponents. Like it's like the play paths are very finite.
I think it's pretty good, and that's why they didn't put it in the precon, right? Because it's too strong and like too oppressive for this. But I mean, it's like I think it's one of the things that you pretty much just have to go. You just have to run it out, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right. Well, mine, I'm cutting. Might as well be my new. Oh shit! What's that? Rampaging Baloths. We're cutting Sepulchre Primordial.
Cultural primordial. Yeah, no questions. No questions asked there.
Yep. So 5 colorless black creature avatar 5/4. It has Intimidate. When it ETBs, each opponent, you may put 1 target creature card from that graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Same kind of thing we've talked about in the past with all of these primordials. Actually, that entire set is relying on what your opponents have in their graveyards is way too specific. It used to be good back in the day when everyone was playing bigger creatures, but a lot of people don't play creatures anymore. And
Right.
so you could play this and very well get nothing from one player, a Birds of Paradise from another, and yeah, maybe you get a Magnetic Force from that third one. But what was it worth it? Was the payoff what you needed? Probably not. So
I don't
I
like
do think we could do better.
this card just sucks, right? Like how many times have you been screwed by this?
So many times. I mean, I think I
Yeah.
cut it from my Joda deck, which is
Oh,
silly
really?
considering I can play it super quick and easy, but it just doesn't do anything. Same thing
Yeah.
with Diluvian Primordial for the sorceries, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Got rid of that one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. I'm here with you. You don't. Yeah. No argument on this one.
All
Easy
right.
cut.
Well, we are going to be adding a Beholder.
Oh, you're putting that guy in? That was on my
I'm-
list too, but it
Yep.
didn't make the cut.
So we are putting in Karazikr the Eye Tyrant. 3
Yeah.
colorless Rakdos, legendary creature Beholder. Whenever you attack a player, tap target creature that player controls and goad it. We have to be attacking. This at least gives us almost a backup commander in case ours gets removed way too many times. But I also like this. Whenever an opponent attacks one of your other opponents, you and the attacking player each draw a card and lose a life. So once again, it's playing a little bit into the, hey, yes, I'm going to goad your creature, but I'll goad your best one, and then you and I can each draw a card. Like, how does that sound for this? And the nice thing is that it doesn't even have to be tied to Karazikr's ability. Your commander, when it goes the whole damn table, you're not getting a card for each creature that's attacking, but you're going to get 3 card draws on a rotation. So I think this makes a lot more sense than Sepulchre, and it lowers our CMC by 2. Uh-oh, he's in the tank.
Is this potentially a more fun commander than the face one?
No.
Because there's not enough attack. There's not enough creatures to go attacking with to get the value out of it, right?
Whenever you attack a player, so you get the trigger
Sure.
once. So you would have to figure out a way to make multiple copies of Karazikr, be able to keep them around, so that way you're getting multiple Karazikr triggers. So I think that's where the card reads initially better. Whenever you attack, not whenever a creature you control
so you can only
attacks.
you can only get, if you attack all of your opponents, you get 1 apiece.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I said it's just kind of like a little bit of a backup commander in case your bigger one does get removed too much. So.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, I'm here for it. I think it's great. Great cut, great ad.
All right. We are going to be going into what's the same CMC. So, Tuck, what did you decide to cut? And at what CMC was that? And what card are you going to replace it with?
So I'm gonna cut a 3-drop, a card that I actually like, but I just don't. I think it's just kind of filling up a slot in this deck. Vampire Nighthawk. What?
Oh, you're going for another one. I was because I'm cutting a 3-drop in the next one. So interesting. Vampire Nighthawk.
I like this card a lot. Colorless, black for 2/3 Vampire Shaman. It's flying, Death Touch, Lifelink. I don't think there's no vampire support in this. Obviously, there's no flying or anything. So it's kind of like a good. It's just like
it's Baleful Strix. That's all it is.
But it doesn't even draw you a card.
What I mean though is like the flying Death Touch piece.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It serves the same function, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but like, and I remember, I mean, this is a god tier card in Tiny Leaders, as we all know, the format that I refuse to forget about. So yeah, so it's fine. It's a good card to have in your collection. It's good in some decks. This would be great with the Karazikr, because you're probably going to be able to attack pretty freely. But for me, I just think it goes against kind of against the theme of the deck. So instead, I'm going to lean a little into the spell casting that we're doing, right? And trying to get more value out of that because it's just evidently there's a lot of it in the deck. So I'm going with this card that I'd never even heard before called Bothersome Quasit. So 2 colorless and a red for a 3/2 with Menace. It says goaded creature your opponent's control can't block, which is kind of weird. I guess it's just in case they have vigilance or something. But then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, goad target creature an opponent controls. So I like this because we're gonna be casting spells anyways, right?
Yeah.
And this way, if we can't get our recursion out of our commander, we can at least choose some spicy targets to start slamming into our opponents. And if we're playing someone that's playing like vigilance or something like that, like vigilance tribal, or they have a lot of these sort of combat tricks, we can make them really think about how they want to do those, and hopefully lead them up for attacks in response. So that was me.
So
That's me for my 3 for 3.
I had an idea, or I had a
Oh,
thought. I don't know if this card works in this deck.
well, you don't like it?
No, I love it, but I don't think it legally works in this deck. So here's the thing. Kardur, printed text and errated text actually doesn't say goad.
Right.
And so this creature specifically says goaded creatures your opponent's control can't block.
Sure.
So technically, with the legendary creature, the face commander, when it ETBs, their creatures will still be
They're
able to block
technically not
you.
goaded.
Yeah, they're not actually goaded. So knowing that, you then have to be comfortable with just the last effect. Like, if you think this is still good enough to run just for the whenever you cast a non-creature spell, then it's like, okay, that's fine. We can move on. But if a big piece was I didn't want them to be able to block, well, now that actually doesn't apply.
Honestly, it was just for the last bit. The can't block for me was kind of like, okay, I guess, like you said, if you're playing white and you're playing against like a bunch of vigilance creatures, that's pretty good.
Sure.
But for me, it's more about the last text of just like continuing to get value just for play. It's like we were talking about last week, right? Where it's like just getting value for playing the game, I think is where we want to go in these starter decks.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I will be cutting
a 3.
Explosion of Riches. So we're cutting a 6-drop.
Oh!
Explosion of Riches. Sorcery, 5 colorless red, 3 cents. It's an uncommon. Draw a card, then each other player may draw a card. Whenever a card is drawn this way, Explosion of Riches deals 5 damage to target opponent, choosing at random from among your opponents. So dumb. 6 mana for you to draw a card, and then maybe get 5 to 15 damage thrown in 5 increments at each opponent. Like, I don't know. Just
I think this is a card that like I would really want to work, but I think it's kind of stinky, right?
Yeah.
I think if it was 4, do you think that would be something more manageable?
Maybe, yeah. Okay, how about this? If it was 4, I think it'd have to be instant speed.
That would be good. That'd be really good, yeah.
Because I don't think it's good at sorcery speed at 4 mana and literally the same effect.
Yeah,
because literally your opponents would just say, most of the time, they just say no.
Right, and then you deal 5 to one of your opponents, and that's it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of stinky. I said, I think it's cool. I don't know. It's like a card I wish I could work, but probably not worth the effort.
Well, good thing is I led with a beholder, and we're adding more beholders.
Oh.
Sometimes it just takes a kiss of death, and Death Kiss. 5 colorless red creature beholder. You get it for about 20 cents. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks one of your opponents, double its power until end of turn.
Oh, God.
XX red, Monstrosity X. So basically, for your colorless mana, FAM, if you put in 2, X equals 1. So just whatever number it is, cut it in half, and that's what Monstrosity X ends up becoming. When it becomes monstrous, go to up to X target creatures your opponents control. And it comes in as a 5/5. So I feel like for 6 mana, you're immediately getting a better card and more impact to the game. And then the Monstrosity X, it's just there. You don't have to go for X equals 10. You could do it for X equals 2. Basically pay 5 mana, go 2 creatures, put a couple +1 counters on this thing. Becomes a 7/7. And I love whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks one of your opponents, double its power. Like, could you imagine, Tuck, you have Death Kiss out, and then it's like, okay, play my commander. Everything's goated. it will just be chaos for everyone.
I love it. Yeah, I think this is like, see, this is the thing where it's like, why isn't a card like this that's so impactful and so interesting? And what, 40 cents you said or something? 20 cents? Like, why isn't this in this precon? Because it's monstrous is too complicated or something?
I don't know, maybe. And you know what? Honestly, Tuck, it might have been one of those things where, 'cause if you've noticed, a lot of the red Goatee type cards that we've talked about have all been from Commander Legends Baldur's Gate, because that's really when
Oh,
they kind of did it. And I bet you Wizards kind of looked at it and said, hey, we want people to go buy that product. So we probably don't want to
yeah,
put the entire thing in here.
yeah, right,
But
right,
also,
right.
we don't want people to say, well, what's the point of the starter deck? You literally just gave me Baldur's Gate plus like
Yeah.
a handful of cards from other sets. So this is
Uh-huh.
probably
Okay,
the way
yeah.
that they keep that secondary market happy, and it's not like we just gave you everything you need, even though this is cheap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. But no, this is a sick inclusion. I love it.
All right,
Double beholders. Who would have thought?
who would have thought? Maybe we'll go 3 for 3. Greater CMC Tuck. What
All
is
right.
the final card you're going to cut, and what are you going to add in its place?
So, hear me out. I'm going to more than double the CMC of this card.
Jesus.
So, I'm cutting Breath of Malifaux, Malfagor. It's in the 5 slot, 3 colorless, a red and a black for an instant. It deals 5 damage to each opponent. Fine, whatever. Kind of a finisher, I guess, but it doesn't scale. It's an instant speed, which is nice, but it's just kind of like, doesn't really have that much of an impact on the game, in my opinion, right?
Okay.
So instead, we are going to put in this one. I think is expensive as well, and this is a card that was like built for Sam Tucker, or BigTuck, if you will. People know who I am. Who are we kidding? Like any sort of non-media I have. Okay, but it is the classic 11 drop. Blood for the Blood God. Off of Warhammer, coming in at a rare for $13. It costs 8 colorless, a double black, and a red for an instant. It costs 1 less for one less a cast for each creature that died this turn. Discard your hand, draw 8 cards. It deals 8 damage to each opponent. Exile it. Incredible. In decks where people are going to be swinging out at each other with double powered creatures and everything else, they're going to be dying left, right, and center. This is how you come back in the game. It deals more damage than the other one for ultimately what could be quite less. And if there's enough creatures on board to get Blasphemous Act to work, for 4 mana, you're board wiping, drawing 8, and dealing 8 to everyone else.
Yeah, that's literally what the thought I had in my head. I was like, oh my god, Blasphemous Act for a single red. So yeah, have double black, double red, and you're going to 13 damage each creature. Draw 8 cards. Deal 8 damage to each opponent. Like, that is backbreaking.
Yeah, it's incredible. Which makes sense. I mean, they're not going to ever reprint this card, but so that's why I'm going to head over to our pals at Abyss Proxy Shop and buy one for probably every RAKDOS deck I own. But I just had to do it. This card is so sweet; it couldn't be ignored.
Yeah, this is a very, very, very cool addition. I think you picked a good one. I think you did a good one.
Yeah. Sometimes a broken clock is right twice.
All right. Here's what we're gonna do.
Here's what we're gonna do.
I hate this card. I don't.
Do you have another beholder before you get my hopes up?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to see.
Okay.
So we are cutting Theater of Horrors.
I
don't think it's good. Theater of Horrors is a 3-drop. This is the 3-drop I thought you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
Colorless Rakdos enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. During your turn, if an opponent lost life this turn, you may play cards exiled with Theater of Horrors. 3 colorless red. It can deal damage to target opponent or planeswalker. I don't like. I mean, I know I talked about the magnetic force and kind of how it can feed into this, but I don't like these conditions where it's like you need an opponent to lose life. Sometimes like you can't change the life total of your opponent. Like there's a lot of that kind of stuff going around. And I don't want to be dependent on what my opponent's doing to be able to play my deck. So
I used to be so white hot on this card.
Oh, I know.
I just like, I still like, I don't know. I think it bitches cost is just better than this, right? Like I think these mono black or Rakdos burst draw spells are just so much better, right?
Yeah.
Like this card's really good in like Prosper, you know, where
Hmm.
the exile matters, but that certainly does in this deck. So I'm glad I'm really interested to see what you're cutting this for though.
Yeah, so it's not a beholder;
Damn it.
it is a spirit dragon, and we are talking Vengeful Ancestor. So
Whoa.
two colorless red. It has flying. It's a 3/4.
I
Whenever
feel like
it
this is also gonna be. I feel like
ETBs,
this is also gonna be from Baldur's Gate.
it
Oh, it
is.
is.
So whenever Vengeful Ancestor enters the battlefield or attacks, goad target creature, and then whenever a goaded creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller. So I like
Love it.
that aspect of goading everyone. You're forced to lower your other opponent's life total. And oh, by the way, how many creatures do you attack with? 5, 6. You're also going to take 6 to the
Yeah,
face.
yeah. I love this card. This is one that's been sitting in my binder for a while, trying to find the right home for it. I think it's pretty solid. But again, it kind of goes back to that same thing with like the goaded creature attacking because they're not technically goaded, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
which
Well,
suck. Like why is that? Like why is that not even errated to it? It's the same ability. Like it's so
I don't
stupid.
know. But the reason I'm okay with the Vengeful Ancestor is because it on its face, when it ETBs and
Can
attacks, can also start goading
can
stuff.
goad itself. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll and it's flying, so it's gonna be harder to have people block and kill it. So I think it'll actually be able to overcome the goad challenge that our commander brings us. So
I feel
yeah,
like all the cards. I feel like if we cut these cards and put these in, we have now put in enough cards that are still on theme that have the keyword goad in them that
mhm,
can make it like it's not going to be an issue, right?
yeah,
Like
maybe,
just because our one card that's our commander doesn't specifically say this, I think a lot of it's more about the effect and like the what happens to the response of these creatures attacking than
yeah.
them just happen to be goaded.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, and I have, like I said, I have a goat deck, but not everything's goad. Even if it's like, my opponent's attacked with 15 creatures combined, and I only get 7 of the goat triggers, maybe that's enough, depending on how powerful or
Yeah.
impactful those triggers were.
Yep. 100%.
Well,
Love
thanks for
them.
making it until the end of the episode, everyone. And of course, if you enjoyed the content, leave a review, leave a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, Twitch, and podcast channels. And if you'd like to be able to get a hold of us and maybe try to find us at Magic Fest Vegas,
Oh,
here's
right.
how you can do that. You can get a hold of me at MrCommoNumber5 on Twitter. I'll spell out except for the 5. Big Tuck, where can people get at you?
You can see me at BigTuck tweeting on the Twitterverse. I am actually going to post something right now saying I'm heading to Vegas. So
Vegas.
that's something I got to do. I don't know. I haven't been on Twitter at all.
You can check out our primary account where we will be doing all of the announcements. That's when we go live. That's where the schedule is. You'll find out about the creators we're collaborating with at CMD Tower on Twitter. We also will have this. We'll have our cuts and ads and kind of like what the CMC stuff was, but we'll actually have a link to this starter deck for you at cmdtower.com/BNBE160. Now, if you remember, if you're looking to support us, there's so many different ways that you guys can do that through our Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower, at our Etsy store, etsy.com, CMD Tower right there in the search bar, and of course, abyssproxyshop.com, code CMD Tower for 10% off your order, and we get a little bit of assistance back to the channel. All three are very, very affordable, easy ways that you can help support us if you're looking for us to try to improve the content. So, Big Tuck, Chaos Incarnate, do you feel like with the cuts and ads that we made, you already kind of said a little bit, but with the cuts and ads, do you feel like this would be a viable deck for you to have in your rotation, or do you think you would actually still need to do a little bit more trimming of fat per se?
um, I think that this commander and this deck archetype would be something that I'm interested in. Personally, I don't think I would buy the precon just to take
Yeah,
out 25 cards. I might just find the ones that I have in bulk and build it that way.
sure.
But that is, that is different for us because we have amassed massive collections over the last 3 to
Yep.
4 years. But if I was a new play, if I was a new player and I was like, oh, this is a deck that's like comes fully formed, I would totally be interested in it, right? Like I think this would be like a fun one to at least start playing around with and going that way. A lot of good cards in here that I like and playing with it. Did you and have you looked at the other Have you looked at any of the other starter decks? Okay, they're all
No.
kind of similar. They're all like mid-rangey kind of value decks, but I know this isn't a product for you, right? But like, where would you go with this kind of deck? Would you buy it? Would you just do it from scratch? Is this not? Is this kind of where are you with it?
Yeah, I mean, the legend is very interesting. Um, I do like the idea of like a Rakdos control go deck. I probably wouldn't buy this, but I would definitely use the list as inspiration to make my own.
Okay,
I will
yeah.
tell you this: the direction that I would go is I'd cut out the cards like Gutter Snipe and all the whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you get
Oh,
this
okay.
effect. I'd get rid of all of that. That probably frees up a good 10 to 15 cards because there's some instants and sorceries in there that are just there for
Yeah,
that burst effect. So I think if you cut out those 10 to 15 and you add in the Disrupt Decorums of the world, you add in all the Hate Mirage similar effects. A Helm of the Host would probably be really, really good in here.
oh yeah.
I definitely think a Maze of Ith would be great, especially to remove your own creatures from combat,
Hmm.
to be able to protect them. So I think that's the direction I would go. Like I'm trying
Yeah.
to force everyone to be goaded in as many ways as possible. But then my sub theme would be I'm gonna still take your boards, make my own versions of it, and then start hitting you in the face with those things. Because I think it'd be really cool for the entire deck, kind of like Sheldon's deck that he did with us forever ago, where
Where it's
it's
like
all
stop
about
hitting
hurting
yourself or
yourself.
whatever.
Yeah, it's like stop hitting
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a good like. I'm just glad that this is something different, right? Like it's just a
Hmm.
different Rakdos deck. They didn't redo Rakdos Lord of Riots or any of those other things.
Yep.
Like I think this is good. Like this is good for new players to start thinking about how to build decks and how to think outside of just like I'm
Yep.
playing big creatures and that's how I'm going to win the game. Like using other opponents' resources and those sort of things. So at least a step in the right direction in that regards. If not, maybe a product great for us veteran players, as we
Yeah.
were.
No, definitely. Well, this is the first time we kind of mentioned at the top of the episode that we're going to be doing things a little bit different. We are going to be pivoting a lot of our Brews and Builds discussions to legends that have just recently been announced, precons that have just been released and have the full deck list. Because we kind of assumed that well, me and Tuck have really gone through every single deck we
Yeah,
own
pretty
pretty much,
much.
and now it's just kind of doing whatever we felt like, which was fun for a bit. But we do know that there is a big piece of the community out there that people are, hey, this legend or this starter deck got previewed. Let me Google search, let me YouTube search, let me go see if I can find creators that can give me a better idea of what this deck does and what I need to do to change it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If this is not for you, shoot us a comment. Let us know. You have our Twitters. If you did
Yeah.
like it, we want to know that as well because we want to try to do more of this. So
Come and tell
without
us the
that,
hashtag suck it.
yeah, and Tuck, I'll see you in Vegas.
I know I can't wait.